But if Iran is wise, they will cut a deal. President Trump doesn't bluff, and he does not back down. You can ask Khomeini about that. The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last. President Trump will make a deal. He is willing. And the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity. As far as President Trump and boots on the ground, I don't understand why the base, which they have already, they understand, wouldn't have faith in his ability to execute on this. Look at his track record of pursuing peace through strength, America first outcomes. What he's simply saying, and it's exactly true, and I've said from this podium too, we're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do, to include boots on the ground. Our adversary right now thinks there are 15 different ways we could come at them with boots on the ground. And guess what? There are.
That was Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth today, warning the U.S. will keep up the airstrikes, will keep up the bombing, possibly even boots on the ground, because the U.S. is in it to win it. And now, for the first time, B-52 bombers freely flying over Iran. Plus, Iran reportedly is now prepared to end the war so long as there are U.S. guarantees against further attacks. This is after the U.S. bombed Isfahan, reportedly home to much of Iran's missiles and uranium stockpile. 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs dropped on Isfahan, massive blasts and mushroom clouds seen, stocks closing up, oil down, Iran tensions easing. What's going to happen next? Let's bring in U.S. Army veteran, Captain, GOP Congressman Greg Steube. It's great to see you, Captain. What do you make of reports about Iran's offers here to end the war so long as there are no more strikes? It appears Iran's IRGC officials were killed in that Isfahan bombing, too. We're hearing the president has a 4 to 6 week timeline here, but they're in it to win it. What do you make of the Iran possibly caving here?
Well, it would be smart of them to. I mean, we've had 11,000 strategic strikes. There were 200 just today. We've taken out their ballistic missile systems. We've taken out their nuclear systems, and we continue to target things strategically. And you heard the secretary very eloquently saying that they're not ruling out being able to secure the Strait of Hormuz because of all the international travel that goes through there. So it'd be very smart of the current Iranian leadership to cut some type of deal to be able to ensure that their security and safety in the region would be very smart on their behalf. But it doesn't seem like they're willing to do that. This is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. So I doubt that they're finally going to see the light and be willing to negotiate.
What do you make of President Trump reportedly saying he can end the war, even if Iran, gives us the world a hard time about the Strait of Hormuz, that Europe and the Mideast will have to keep it open, telling Europe, go buy U.S. oil, go to the Strait of Hormuz, take the oil. He said to the UK and France, quote, you'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The U.S. will not be there to help you anymore, just like you were not there for the U.S. Go get your own oil. So what do you make of that? Where does the U.S. stand now with NATO?
Yeah, I think he's obviously very frustrated that we don't get the majority of our oil through there. These European countries do, and they're doing nothing to secure the transport of this oil through the strait, which obviously is causing worldwide crude prices to go up, which obviously gets affected here, even though we're not getting the majority of our oil there. So obviously the president's very frustrated by the fact that some of these European allies are not willing to do anything to secure the commercial trade through that strait. And it kind of brings to the question, why are we involved in NATO? Why are we involved in the UN? Because when all of those people are being attacked or expect the United States to come in and help them, we are there for them. The mass majority of those funding and the payments come from the United States, not from the other countries. So he's probably obviously very frustrated.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what's going on. So, the markets, the analysts are taking on whether, the stress on oil, the stress on the markets, the stress on gas prices is temporary. Gas hit $4 a gallon, diesel $5 a gallon. But let's get your reaction to JP Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon and what he thinks about the war with Iran. Watch.
Our economy is so big and complex and integrated and doing well. It's been doing well for years. It's prosperous. So this isn't going to have an immediate. It's one effect. So I just don't think it's too short really to affect the whole thing. So obviously gas prices going up are going to hurt people a little bit.
It's $4.
But they still have money to spend. They still have jobs. So, remains to be seen. We should all hope nothing goes wrong. We should all hope that these bad people are, that we win this thing and clean up the straits and that Iran is no longer a threat to everybody. The markets will be concerned until it's over. But I think it's very important. It's much more important that this be successfully completed than what the market does.
So Jamie Dimon is saying the president needs to win it, to stay in it, to win it, that the markets will take the hits temporarily, but it will be good for the world if the U.S. wins this and Israel wins this war with Iran. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and the president's been very clear that he's only going to be there for a short period of time. We're going to meet our missions and objectives in the region and then come out, which will then cause those oil prices to go back down.
You're so good, Congressman Greg Steube. Love your analysis. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for your service to America. Now